Hello, hi, good afternoon. Are we all ready to make pizza and dough balls? How exciting! Very exciting. So I'm going to wait a minute for everybody to come on, and I know I've had loads of questions, what ingredients, blah, blah, what substitutes. So I've put a nice little list here, so while I'm chatting to you, you can have a look. So those bits that are starred, so if you haven't got bread flour or yeast or other bits or the water, I'm giving you some alternatives there. And I will I will go through that in a minute, but if you're not sure, get some of this stuff out and I will talk you through what we've got. And while we're doing that, say hi so I can give you all a shout out, and also tell me what are the 3 things that we need to do always when we cook. I've done a couple already. Hi Liza from Oxford, that's so nice, I'm loving having you. Yeah, lots of hearts and smileys so I know you're out there. Oh, we've already got 62 of us, that is fantastic. So, hi from the Smiths. Hello, Mummy. Mummy's 21 again. Happy birthday, Mummy. 21 again. I'm 21 again too. That's good. So I know you're going to love this today, and this is going to be fantastic for takeaway night. You're going to have your own takeaway night, okay? So you'll be able to do that. So who else have we got here? Hi, Addison. Say hi. Hi from Imogen. Fantastic. Some of you guys I know are new, and that's lovely to have you. Some of you are fantastic cooks and have been here for everyone. So hello Northern Ireland. Yeah, tell me hi Amy and Chloe and Caleb and Ayla, Scarlett. I'm getting the Jones family, Molly, Freya. If I miss you, I'm going to come through later. Can't wait for pizza. I can't wait for pizza as well. Hi Jack. Did I miss Jack and Cole? Super excited. So hello. We'll see how exotic we are today because I don't know what it is. What the weather's like where you are. It's not super sunny where I am, but we had somebody the other day from Australia, although I think it's probably not a good time to be cooking in Australia. Probably early. Hi, Sean. Hi, Millie. Hi, who have we got here? Jessie. Perfect. Oliver and Florence. Hi, guys. And Demos and Giselle. Hello, Millie, Ben, Sophie, Jeremiah. Oh, James. You're watching until you can get ingredients. Yes. So any of you that are just watching today, that's fine. It will go up on replay here on the Facebook page. It will also go up on replay on YouTube. If you're watching me on replay, hopefully that means you've got the ingredients. Fantastic. So I'm really sorry. I would never normally cook something that you can't do, but I promised about 3 weeks ago we'd do bread. We made soda bread first because that was the thing that most people had in terms of ingredients. And at that point in time, it looked like the supermarkets were getting stocked back up. So that's why I'm doing it today. So I'm super sorry for those of you that can't, that struggled. Don't want to encourage you to go out. Please borrow from a friend or a neighbor or something like that. If you don't have bread flour, you can use plain flour. So big shout out to Gaia who said she normally makes her pizza dough and things like that with plain flour. It works fine. So thank you. And if you don't have yeast and you've got a starter, then that's also fine. A starter is basically a mix of bread flour and water, and you use it to make sourdough, so you can use that instead. If you're watching this on replay or you're watching this and you're not making now, and you've got bread flour but no yeast, you can start that process. I've put some links up in the Facebook thing so you can have a look at that. So, hello Hattie and Theodora, hi Isla. First one today, that's great, lovely to have you on board. Hi Noah, Ruby, Dane. Oh gosh, I can't even watch that quickly. There are loads going. Charlie and George and Amelie and Sophia, that is fantastic. So let me just run through very quickly what you're going to need. You're going to need some bread flour. If you don't have bread flour and you've got plain flour, that's fine. You want some dried yeast like this. You're actually not going to use very much. You only need a teaspoon. So make sure that you save this for another time because it's like gold dust at the moment. If you don't have the yeast and you've got a starter, that's also fine. You're going to need some salt. You're going to need, so I've got olive oil, but if you haven't got olive oil, sunflower oil or something's fine. And you're going to need some warm water. So I've got mine in a jug. I just use it from the tap. I actually put some boiling water in before so it's cooled down. But just regular baby kind of bath water that you can put your finger in, and I'll talk to you about that. So that's what you need for the dough. Then for the toppings, you're going to need some passata. Now passata is just sieved tomatoes. If you don't have this, just use some tinned tomatoes, and you can either whiz them up if you want to, or just put it a bit in a sieve and give it a bit of a shake so you don't get anything that's too watery. I've got some lovely fresh basil, and if you've got that, this is amazing to grow. So if you are at home, buy a little pot next time you go to the supermarket and grow it. It's really, really nice. So you guys can do that and give it a little trim. If you don't have this, just miss it out, it's fine. Or if you've got some dried herbs, you can put that in too. And then you guys might know what this is because we cooked with this the other day. This is my garlic. Oh, thank you for all the lovely hearts and hands. That's nice. Thumbs up. So we're going to use some of that in our tomato sauce. And then for those of us that, sorry, one key ingredient on our pizza I forgot over here is your mozzarella cheese. Now I've left it in the bag so I can show you what to do. So if you've got it in the bag as well, give it a nice squish and you know it's in a bath, it's in its water. So I'm going to show you what to do with that. If you don't have mozzarella, cheddar cheese, whatever cheese you've got, absolutely fine too. If you're vegan cheese, also good. For our dough balls, we're going to have some butter. So I've got just some butter here, room temperature, so it's not going to be too hard to mush up. If you've got margarine, that's softer, and you can use that as well if you're dairy free. And then I'm going to add some herbs and some garlic in mine. So I've got some little garlic granules, and I've got some mixed herbs there. You could use fresh herbs too, and you can buy this stuff as well. I've got like a garlic and herb seasoning. So whatever you fancy, we're doing the kind of Pizza Express dough balls, dunking in the butter kind of thing. You can leave your butter plain if you want to as well. Okay, so, loving this. I've got Sophie and Ben. Hi, Sophie and Ben, first time. And Ethan, pizza is my favourite too, Ethan. That's a good choice. And Finton, have I got that right? I hope I have, in Sunny Hove. So that's good. Right. So if you guys are ready, I think we're going to start. But first of all, I want you to tell me what are the 3 things that we're going to do before we cook. One of them's here, so we will get our aprons on. And if you've got long sleeves, then I'm going to add an extra one like me. You want to pull them up a bit because we're going to get a bit mucky on our hands, okay? You excited? Good, I'm very excited too. That's lovely. Hi, Jacob. Hi, Holly. So we're going to pop on our aprons. What else do we do? Give you a bit of a clue here. You might have done this already. If you haven't, you need to. Wash our hands super well with soap, so you want to do that. And tie your hair up if you've got long hair. All of our hair is growing at the moment, isn't it? So we probably all have long hair in a few weeks' time. So hi, Thomas. Wash hands, exactly. Hi, Luna. Hi, Body. I hope I've got that right for your first cookie class. Lovely to have you on board, guys. Wash hands, absolutely. Louis, perfect. You guys know this. Tie your hands. Tie your hands. Tie up your hair. Wash your hands. I can't get it right, but you guys know, so that's good. So I'm going to try and leave this here if I can. Just prop it up. So those of you that are joining and thinking, what have we got? You can have a little look there. Will that stand up? I think that's okay. So I've just also got some other bits you're going to need. I'm doing mine in a glass bowl so you can see my dough and everything. You don't need to. Plastic bowl's absolutely fine. I've got some scales. I've got a nice big spatula spoon to mix with. A rolling pin. Can you use self-raising flour? Yeah, Guy had this amazing tip that plain flour was fine, so you should be able to use self-raising flour. The idea is bread flour is very strong, so it will say on the bag strong white or strong brown flour, and what that means is it's more protein, more gluten, so it makes it really stretchy. So you might find the texture slightly different. If it is, it's fine because we're all learning together today, we're all substituting, and that's not a problem, and you'll see what mine looks like, and then next time you go to the supermarket, if it's back in stock, buy a bag and you can try it again, okay? Hi Milena, hi Alex, hi Anthony, hi Ibrahim, perfect. So we're gonna get rolling, okay? So you're going to turn your scales on. Some of you might have pre-weighed. As I always show you, if you've got electric scales, there's a little button that says on and off. There's a little button that says unit. So you want to turn it on, pop your bowl on top. Make sure it's on, what's that unit that we measure in? G for grams. And we're going to take our flour, whatever flour you've got, and you're going to put 300 grams in. The only difference is if you're using a starter, as you can see here, you're going to use 25 grams less of the flour and 25 grams less of the water, okay? So I'm going to put 300 grams in. So you can just pour that in. And we'll do all of this together. Leave your flour out because we're going to have a bit when we need it. So I'm putting 300 grams in, just leaving my bag open so it's easy to shout. Hi, Liza from Winchester. Hi, guys. This is your first class, another one. That's lovely. Rose is your second class, also good. You can keep coming back. And you can keep, those of you that's your first class, all of the previous classes are up on replay here on the Facebook page and also on YouTube. So check them out and watch them and cook and share your photos. So, perfect. So I've got my water in there, I've got my flour in there. I'm going to use a teaspoon of salt. So when you pour, whatever teaspoon or tablespoon we're using, we want it to be level. We don't want too much. So this is good pouring practice. We want to go slow because I don't want to end up with a bowl full of salt. So we're going to have a little teaspoon like that. And what you might want to do, especially if you've got a grown-up there that can help you, you want to pop your oven on so it's super hot for your pizza, okay? So it's going to be like tea time snack today. So you want to put your oven on to about 240 or 220 fan, whatever, however high your oven goes, really, really hot for the pizza dough, okay? So that's my salt. Now with the yeast, always comes in a sachet, so give it a nice little shake so all those bits are at the bottom, and usually it's got a little tear on one side. So what you want to do, listen well, that's nice. Hi, Fiona. We were at school together. That was a long time ago. We never got to do cooking at school. That was a bit of a shame, wasn't it? Now, what I want you to do is just tip in all of your yeast into a bowl. And the reason I'm going to get you to do this is I want you to have a look at it, but also I don't want you to waste it in the sachet because you're not going to use very much, okay? So you need a teaspoon, and you'll see it's tiny, small, really small grains, okay? And have a smell. Doesn't really smell very much, but you're going to smell in a minute when we add the water, it's going to start to get active. So this is another great science experiment. This week we're doing lots of fun things. So a nice little teaspoon, chuck it in there, and we're good to go. And you can give it a little mix. These are all our dry ingredients. You can just mix it up a bit. So I'm just going to check everybody's okay. Hello from Ireland, and hello, oh, Leica. I'm not sure I've got that right, but hello anyway. So, thumbs up. I don't know if that's a thumbs up from you or not, but it's a thumbs up, so we're all okay. I'm just checking. So if I'm going too fast, just give me a little sad face to tell me to slow down, or get mum and dad to do that. Ted, Frankie, and Charlie, fantastic. So we've got our flour, and we've got our yeast, and we've got our salt in there. Now we're also going to add in a spoon of oil, and this is to stop it sticking, so another really good pouring thing. So take your tablespoon. This is just one I use at the table. I don't use measuring spoons, but if you've got measuring spoons, use those. And we're going to slowly pour. And if you're working with a grown-up, get your grown-up to hold the spoon or help you pour, whichever one it is, like that. And just pour all of that nice oil in there, okay? And then you're going to need about 200 milliliters, because we measure liquid in milliliters of water, okay? And I want it to be like baby bath water. So I always say, do you remember the story about the 3 bears with porridge? The porridge wasn't too hot and it wasn't too cold. It was, let's see if you remember the answer. So that's, you couldn't get the ingredients. That's okay, James. So you watch on, do it on Saturday. You're going to be an expert on Saturday, okay? So you can watch everybody else. When do you add the starter? So if you've got starter, you can add the starter in now. So if you're using a bit less flour, you're going to use a bit less water and the starter. So put that in your bowl. That's a brilliant question, okay? So all the starter is just flour and water. So that's why, because you're using that instead of the yeast. I'm cutting down a bit of the flour and down a bit on the water. And you'll just check the texture and see if it needs a bit more, okay? So your water should be just right. And the way we check that, like we do with the babies, is we just put our finger in. If you can hold your finger in and it's not, oh, that's too hot, that's good. If it's cold, not good, because it's not going to wake the yeast up. And you want to just pour all of the water in there. And you can see already it's getting a nice little bit frothy and bubbly in there. I'm going to take my scales away. And I want you just to mix it, okay? So I want you to stir it together. This is where the hand work and the strong muscles, for those of you who've been doing Joe Wicks. I want you to mix it together. You kind of need to mush it and smush it, that's a technical term, with the back of the spoon until you want to get to something that looks like a dough. So it'll be a bit hard work from it. Hi, Bilal in Gloucester, fantastic. Oh, we got a few, so don't worry. If you haven't been going a bit fast, I'm just doing this here with you, so you guys are going to keep going with me as well. So we're going to mix it in as much as we can. And then what you want to do is clean off your spoon that you've been mixing with, because flour and water makes a really yucky paste. So I don't want to do too much washing up later. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And then we're going to get our hands stuck in. So we're going to get stuck in and start to squish it until we get most of it together in a nice ball. So we've got plenty of time. Hello. Hi, Martha and Rose in Liverpool. That's fantastic. I got some, so I don't know if I'm going too fast. I've got some sad faces, or some of you just hit the wrong button because we've got sticky fingers. So we like smiley faces better. So I want you to give this a little bit of a work. Oh, here we go. And you can see that mostly, without doing too much work, most of all the rubbish in my bowl has come up and I've got it together in a nice little ball, all right? So, hi from Cumbria. Hi, Louie and Harvey. Lovely to have you. So we're just going to keep doing this. And the reason I'm doing this is I don't want to make too much mess on my kitchen surface, and I'm sure your mums and dads don't want you to do it either. But when it's mostly in a ball, what you want to do is you want to take the dough out, turn out all of that rubbish, and give your bowl a big scrape as well with your hands, because remember, we don't want to add water in here. It's going to be really mucky. And now the fun begins. So you want to make sure that those sleeves are all rolled up, for those of you that have just been joining me, so we don't get too mucky, okay? So all of my stuff is on the table. Let me move that out of the way so you can see. And then what we want to do, we did the bit the other day, with your hand, this bit here is the bone. If you press it, it's quite hard. So we want to knead with that. It's too fast. The dough is coming together slowly. That's fine. It's absolutely fine, and you can tip it out in a minute. I'm just going to show you what we do. Hi, Elsie. Hi to cousin Elsie from Ellie. Oh, you're doing it together 200 miles apart. I love that, Sarah. That is fantastic. Helen, do not worry if yours is a bit dry and dusty. I promise it's going to come together now, okay? So with this bone of your hand, what we want to do is we're going to knead it with that. We're going to pretend not like we're punching somebody. We're going to be quite angry and quite hard. Pizza dough or bread dough is something we really want to work. It's not something we're lovely and gentle with. So we also want to imagine, we don't want to squish it with our fingers. You want to imagine you've got beautiful rings on your hand and you almost, can you see, like pulling your fingers back? And we want to work it quite hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like it's a sausage. I'm going to push it away, pull it back. Push it away and pull it back. And what you'll see now is if you see my hands, it's not super dirty, but it's quite dirty. And I'm going to know how much you've done when that dough stops being dry and dusty and it starts being nice and clean, nice and soft, and my hands become clean. So we're going to work it a bit. Hi, Maya and Jake. I'm going to say hello to everybody while I'm doing my exercise. And you're going to roll that dough. Can you see how hard I'm pressing? On top of all of that rubbish on your table, all those little bits of flour. So sometimes what I do is I take the dough and I roll it hard like a sausage till it picks it up. Then I turn the shape over and I roll it over some of the other stuff. So I used to have a black kitchen table, like a black granite, and that was really good when you do flour because you can see all the mess. So those of you that are working on a dark colour today, you'll be able to see this really well. So you can see I'm really kneading it hard, and you want to do it really usually for about 5 or 10 minutes until your hands are clean, the table's clean, and usually you're a bit hot and bothered, okay? So it's a good workout. Yes, absolutely, Susan. You can come back later. This is live now. It's going to be on replay on the Facebook page. It's going to be on replay on YouTube as well. So you can watch it anytime, okay? And if you want to do the class again and make it another time, it's absolutely fine. So are we all kneading? It's quite good. This is very good if you're having a bad day. So you can knock it out. Hi, Ellie and Theo. So you want to keep working it. And you can see, you know, you said to me before that it was dry, a bit dry and dusty. You can see now that my hands, can you see, are basically clean. My dough is coming together quite nicely. And if you smell it, it starts to smell quite yeasty like bread, doesn't it? So I'm guessing that you guys are working it super hard. And if you've got smaller hands than I have, just split it in half, maybe share with somebody that's with you, or do 2 halves separately. I do, you can see a bit of a like left, right, and stretch it out a bit. Hi, Lizzie, you're kneading away. That's good. Good exercise. Let me bring it a bit closer. Sorry. This isn't normally how I like to knead, but otherwise you won't be able to see me. So you can see my table's quite clean, I promise. And actually a little tip for you, what I always have, I've got one of these little, very cheap kind of dustpans and brushes that I only ever have for food. So if I had a load of flour here, which I don't, but you just give it a bit of a clean up like this, because then when I sweep it up that way, when I wipe it, I'm not putting water on my flour and I don't end up with a yucky old mess, okay? So what should you do if it's too wet? Keep kneading it. If you really think it's too wet, just put a bit of that flour, we left that bag open, put a bit down on your table and keep going on top of that, okay? And a bit sticky. Don't worry, Helen, keep going. Every flour is different and everybody's house is different. And when you weigh out the water, you may not have weighed out exactly the same amount. So do not panic. If it's a bit too sticky, add a bit of flour. If it's a bit too dry, add a bit of water. Just pour a bit of water on the table and keep going. So it might be like I could just do there's a tiny bit there. So I could just put a bit of that and literally just roll that over. You can see there it's getting quite wet and sticky. Keep going. So, way too fast. Sorry, Sophia, did you join a bit late? So all we're doing is this is just the flour, the salt, the yeast, the oil and a bit of water, and we're just kneading it until our hands become clean. So don't worry, just do it in the bowl. Get it together. Hi, Liza. And if it's a bit sticky, just put a bit more flour on the table and keep going. But the more you work it, the softer it gets, okay? And it will come together. It should feel, I love this, they say that dough should be like a baby's bottom. I hope it smells better than a baby's bottom, but it should be nice and soft. And eventually, the test is when you put your little finger in, just give it a small little indent, it should rise back up slowly, not completely. Am I a master of cooking? No, I'm not a master of cooking. cooking, but I like sharing with you. But thank you for asking. But when I finish with you, you'll be a master of cooking. So that's normally the way it works, as you guys become better than me. Don't worry about joining a bit late. Is the water warm? Yes. The reason the water's warm is yeast is a living thing. So we want to wake it up. So imagine that I was waking you up in the morning and I was showering you with a load of cold water. That wouldn't be nice. And if it's too hot, like if it's boiling, it will kill the yeast. So we want it to be like baby bath temperature. So perfect. Hi, Kira and Grace. My one is to study and you don't have any more flour. Mine's too sticky, I'm guessing you meant. You don't have any more flour. Okay, any other flour at all in the house, even if it's plain flour or something like that. Keep working it. It will get a bit better. I've also got something I don't really want to knead in, but when we roll it out later, we might be able to put something on your rolling pin, okay? So even if you've got plain flour or whatever else you've got, or rice flour or something like that. So, how are we doing with the kneading? You can send me some hearts if you're feeling a bit hot and bothered, but it's nice and sticky, or nice and supple, really, and feels lovely. It should feel warm as well because it's got the warmth of your hands. So, I'm feeling like I've had a workout. I don't know about you guys. So, when you think it's good and it's come together and everything's clean, I'm going to make some dough balls with it first. I'm going to show you two things to do with the dough. So we're going to make what I call a pizza express pizza. So it's a thin pizza. And then we're going to make some dough balls. Joanne, we're making pizza and dough balls today. If you missed the start, don't worry. You can watch the end, just watch the end, see what we're doing. And then you can come back and watch it on replay, okay? Hi, Iman, it's your first time. That's perfect. How many pizzas will this make? Well, I normally say it serves 4. We're quite greedy in my family, so it would make 4 pizzas and dough balls in my family. And I don't want to do too much today because I know some of you are cooking with little ones. I want you to see. So I'm probably going to make 1 pizza and a load of dough balls. It's up to you. So I'll show you when we start dividing it up, okay? And I normally let everybody make their own because that's a good idea. So you can have whatever toppings you want. I'm just going to keep mine plain today, but you'll be able to do that. Okay, so I've got a nice little tray. Just a baking dish, but you could use just a flat one as well, that we're going to use for our dough balls. So what I'm going to do, don't worry if I'm a little bit fast, I'm just going to show you the next step and you can come back to it, okay? So keep kneading away. I'm going to tear a bit off and I'm going to roll it quite hard in the palm of my hands so that I get a nice dough ball. A bit like we said the other day, I don't know how big your mouth is, but I probably don't want to eat anything much bigger than that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flour, scatter it on the bottom of my tray, tiny bit. And for those of you that don't have flour, don't worry, it's not going to be a problem. I also use something called polenta. Let me show you this and see if you know what this is. So you can eat this. It's an Italian thing, but it comes from a vegetable, and I wonder if you guys know what it is when I show you the colour. Look at that amazing yellow colour. Who can think of a yellow vegetable that might come from? We grow it in the summer here too as well. You've got dough all over your flour bag. I know, that's always why I leave my flour bag open. Don't worry, we've been there with you, Natasha, do not panic. So, sorry, I'm going to move that out the way and then you can see. So this is polenta and it's like a grain, it's from corn. And so if you don't have any flour, some of you have said, you can just scatter a bit and it stops everything sticking. It's really great to stop having a soggy old bottom, okay? So if you do that, we're just going to roll off some dough balls. So those of you that were asking how many pizzas it makes, I'm just going to do like, I don't know, half a dozen dough balls and I'm going to use the rest for pizza. So if you want to do pizza, don't worry, I'm not going too fast. Just carry on as you are. And what else can you make with the dough? You can make anything. So this dough, what I'm showing you now is we're going to let it rise for the dough balls. We're not going to let it rise for the pizza. So you could just make bread with it. You could roll it out and make some little pinwheels. Most bread is a similar kind of sort of recipe. Bigger breads normally are like about 500 grams of flour to, you know, a sachet of yeast, the whole packet, and about 300 of water. So you can make whatever you want. Hi, I'm Oya and I'm here for the first time. That's okay. Oh, I'm shouting out to you. Don't worry about yeast. I feel really bad because not that I'm in control of the supermarkets, but was really hoping when I said a couple of weeks ago that we were going to do this, that there would be more around. Ask your friends and neighbours, and next time you go out, definitely see if you can get a packet or make your starters. So you'll need about a week for that, but it's literally just bread, flour and water, and it's really easy to do, okay? So I have put some references up in the Facebook post, and you can ask any questions about that. Oh, fantastic, you got the ingredient. Okay, yes, so when you sign up to the mailing list, you will get an email with the recipes for 2 recipes for that week, and then you'll be able to get heads up for the following week. So I don't want to encourage you to be going out shopping all the time, obviously. And I'm also going to resend out I did a really useful thing of bits and bobs that you can stock up and have in your larder. So like when you go out, if you have a bag of flour, and especially kids, make sure you add it to mum and dad's shopping list. You can do all of that. Yes. So I've got 6 or 7 dough balls. Oops, can't tip them too much, like that in there, okay? And then all you're going to do with those, the reason I'm doing them first is they want to rise a bit, and then we're going to make the garlic butter. We're going to dip them in there, okay? Hi, Louie and Harvey. That's lovely that you joined us. So you can cover them in cling film. Cling film's not so great, so I don't want to encourage you to do that either. So I've just got a tea towel. I'm just going to cover it. I'm just going to put it to one side. So those are my dough balls to one side. So it looks like I've got a lot of hearts and thumbs up, so that is great. You probably noticed as well, your hands like mine are quite clean, so we don't want to wash them at this point in time because we're still using our dough. So with the rest of this dough, I might make 2 small pizzas, and I'm going to show you what we'll do. So you're going to take your rolling pin. Now you shouldn't need a lot of flour. I know some of you don't have any flour, and that's why scraping that bowl out is really good, because you've probably got a tiny bit just even on your table. So just rub it around, and then what I say is give your rolling pin a massage. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I take a bit of flour, I just give it a bit of a massage so that I've got a small bit of flour. So I don't want loads of flour because it's going to dry out the pizza, okay? Yeah, Laura, I've just made the dough balls. So I've taken some of my dough, I've rolled it into balls, and I've put it to one side, and now I'm going to make the pizza. So if you don't want to do dough balls, just watch what I'm doing now, okay? Hi, Anshi. Make sure that I use a bar of soap. Yes, we talked about that today. Michael is very particular on us washing our hands with soap, and I have said that. Right, now, so what you want to do is you can take your bit of dough, you can roll it into a ball if you want to, and then we're going to roll it. Now, bread dough is what I call naughty dough, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to roll it and stretch it, and it shrinks right back. It's hard to see on a white table, I know, but I'm going to roll it, and it shrinks right back. So we want to tell it who's boss. So we're going to keep stretching it, and you want to keep turning it so you get that nice circle shape. And this is the gluten, this is the stretchy bit, and this is why you want usually bread flour. So those of you with plain flour, I'm really interested to know how it goes. In America, they have something called all-purpose flour, which is basically plain flour, but usually it has a bit more protein and a bit more gluten in it, and that's why a lot of the American recipes will say you can use plain flour. So I did check, and it doesn't look like ours is too different here in the UK, so I'm interested to see how it works. Hi, Reeve, are you tuning in for the first time? It is lovely to have you. So can you see how I'm stretching this? And now that I'm stretching it, it's listening to me and it's not shrinking back so much. And we want it nice and thin, almost as thin as you can get, but not so thin that we get a hole in it. So if you can start to see through, it's too thin, okay? We don't really want to re-roll it. So I'm trying to make a nice circle shape. And if you haven't got a rolling pin, what I should have said, well, you can do it with a glass actually, or something. I wouldn't roll with this, but anything that's kind of like a, you know, tube you can roll with as well. So if you've got just a long thin glass, that's fine. Or if you've got anything in your Play-Doh set that you're going to wash off, make sure it's really clean, you can use that too. Can you? Yes. 0-0 pasta flour is absolutely perfect for this. Yeah, that was one of the substitutes that I suggested to you. And if you can't get hold of bread flour, sometimes you get those little packet mixes, which usually have a bit of yeast in them and sometimes some seeds. So they're not ideal, but that would work because it would have the strong bread flour in it too. But yeah, it's called Tipo 0-0 pasta flour. So if you see pasta flour, that's fine. It's usually a bit more expensive because it's sold in smaller bags, but that is perfect for now. So can you see I'm starting to get a nice big pizza? So those of you that asked how many pizzas, like I said, we've got greedy families. So you should be able to make quite a nice one, even with the dough balls. I take, hi Rafaela. So when you've got, that's my first one. So a bit like that. And then just like I did before, you're going to pop a little bit, I'm going to bring this over. I put a little bit of my polenta on here, and I'm going to put a little bit of flour. But you don't need the polenta, it's just something to stop it sticking. Polenta is good if you have it, or semolina, because it does anything that oozes off your pizza, like too much cheese, it will stop you getting a soggy bottom. And you can also, you can stretch it a little bit with your hands. Can you see how stretchy it is there? that's the gluten and that's what you want. So when you go to the pizza restaurants and they do all the tossing and turning, that's what they're doing. And then I'm just going to put it down. You can stretch it a little bit on your tray too. And that is one pizza. So if you're cooking for lots of people at home, if you make a big one like me, you often need one tray per pizza, but then everybody can do all of their toppings at a different time. And if you've got a pizza stone, which is one of those big like kind of clay circles, just pop that in the oven. That is brilliant. You could also pop the metal baking tray in the oven to preheat first, but usually because I'm cooking with kids and we want to put it down on the table and add our toppings, I won't heat it now. But anything that's hot that gives heat from the bottom will really help make it nice and thin and crispy, okay? So I'm going to put that to one side. I've still got more, so I'm going to show you again. So I'll roll my second one with you, or you could make some more dough balls. Can you see how it's jumping back? So we just got to keep going like that, and that's what you keep doing. Now, for those of you that missed out before, so you just make a second one, the dough balls, all I was doing was this, squishing them up, pressing them quite hard in my hand, making a nice kind of bite-sized dough ball. I'm actually going to add some more dough balls here because I've just got one tray today. So with my remaining dough, I'm going to do that. But I think it would make a good portion for two greedy people, two nice big pizzas and some dough balls, okay? So I'm seeing some hearts. So when you guys are getting towards the end of that, you can send me some thumbs up and some hearts so I know we're all good. And then we'll get on with our pizza sauce. And the pizza sauce is lovely. You can use that for pasta too. It's gone quiet today, hasn't it? Good. Oh, we got lots of happy faces. I like that. So you can see I've got a whole load of dough balls. You may not have as many. It doesn't matter. And I'm just going to cover those and put those to one side. Okay. So afterwards, when you've got clean fingers, I'd love to hear for those of you that have used the starter how that works. So I do that quite often in bread now. And if you've got plain flour, it'd be really interesting to see how that works too. But we're all making do, so it's absolutely fine. And hopefully flour will come back into the shops a bit more readily. So perfect. Yeah, some of my dough balls I can see there, they're not quite the perfect round. So that's why whoever asked me was I MasterChef, the answer is definitely no. Yours are going to look a lot nicer than mine. So what we're going to do for our pasta sauce, if you're ready, is we're going to take another bowl. I'm going to pop this, can I stand this up? I think we'll put that down now because I think you guys have mostly seen that. And I've got this stuff called passata, and passata is basically sieved tomatoes. So if you don't have this, just use a tin of chopped tomatoes. If you're really stuck, just use something like ketchup, or if you've got sun-dried tomato paste, mix the two together. You don't want something that's very, very liquidy because it will give a soggy bottom. So I'm just going to open my little carton, and you can get this sometimes in glass jars as well, so you might have a different one. And I'm just going to pour it all in, because when we make it, you'll see you can use it for a pasta sauce as well. Makes a nice noise when you squish it out. So all of that goes in there. And yeah, the recipe, Daniela, if you get the recipe when you sign up to the mailing list, it comes out, and then you just log on live like we're doing today, okay? I did put some of it up, so it was up here as well, so that everybody can see at the beginning of the class. But yeah, you want the recipe because this is the first class of the week. We've got another one on Saturday as well, okay? So we're going to use some garlic. So we did this the other day, and you guys that were watching will remember. This is a whole bulb of garlic, and sometimes they're wrapped in pink wrapping paper. Mine's wrapped in white. So we're just going to squish one out, and then just with a knife, it doesn't have to be a sharp knife, we're going to press on top of it, put our hands on top and squish till we hear it crack. Not sure you would have heard that. And then sometimes I just cut the bottom off, and then that way the whole bit of paper just comes out really nicely, okay? Mine's got a little root in there, that's what I was just pulling out, a little shoot. So you want one clove of garlic. Now, you can either be super good and chop it up really fine, or you might have a garlic press, and this is mine, and I really love these. So this is just a regular grater, it's like a microplane grater, and then it's got something special to go on top, like this, so it just slides on top. My garlic goes in that hole, and then my extra bit, which I left in the drawer, goes on top. It's like a finger guard. So now what I do is I grate it, you probably hear it, and it just comes there. Can you see? So that way I'm not grating my fingers. When I get to the end of my garlic, oops, you can let that bit drop in, but you're just going to take your knife and just take it out. So however you want to add in your garlic. You can also buy garlic that's already, you know, minced like this in the freezer section or anything else. So you can do that, okay? So just pop a bit of your garlic in there. And if you want to season it, add in some salt and pepper. And if you've got basil, which is gorgeous, it's going to give us that lovely taste and those lovely little green flecks, you want to pick off some leaves. So we don't eat, if I show you this one, we don't eat the stalks on basil, not because they're poisonous, but they're just a bit thick and not very nice. So we're just going to pick off a few leaves right really close. Can you see there? Close to the stalks. I'm just going to do that. If you haven't got fresh basil, some of you were asking if you want to use dried herbs, it's absolutely fine. Just put a little half a teaspoon or however much you want in there. If you don't have or you don't want to use dried herbs, just leave it out. It's not a problem. Yes, the sauce, Isabel. So I've just put in a tin of passata. If you don't have passata, you can use chopped tomatoes. And I've just added in a bit of garlic. At the moment, that's all I've done. I just crushed up some garlic. And then, that's okay. Jasmine, I'm going to slow down as well. I'm just repeating this. We're just taking off some basil, okay? So that's all you need to do. And you can use tin tomatoes, or you can use, like I said, ketchup if you want to. You just don't want it. Can you see it's quite, although it's a sauce and it's liquid, it's not too like watery. When you have a tin of tomatoes, you've got those tomato chunks, and then you've got bits that are quite watery. So if you can, I would sort of whiz it up a bit or sieve it a little bit, okay? Right, Andy, you are with us. Do not worry, I'm not going to leave anybody behind, okay? So you can just tear these little basil bits. And what you can do is you can either tear them with your fingers like this, or if you've got kitchen scissors like me, you can do a little bit of snipping. Or, what I wanted to show you, is if you've got this is a lovely gadget. This is called a mezzaluna. Sorry to those of you that speak Italian far better than me. Mezza is half, and luna is like a moon. So what you do with these, and these are great for kids because you can see your hands are on the handles, they're nowhere near the blade, and the blade's actually not too sharp. Hi, Eden, and from Grandma's saying hello to you. That's lovely. I love that we're all cooking together. How cool is that? And we're just going to rock with this. So you'll see, you can hear that crunchy noise. And I just use the knife to put all of the green bits together. And I do this again. So this mezzaluna is usually used for herbs. So if we have a nice tabbouleh salad and we're chopping up loads of parsley or something like that, or mint, this would be great. But I can use it, I use it with my preschoolers for chopping soft things. So it might be apples and pears, it might be spinach, it might be mushrooms. So I think one of these is really, really useful in your kitchen. So however you've chopped up your basil, you just want to scrape it all in, pop it all in there. Don't waste any of that lovely stuff. And I bet if you've been using it, smell how nice that is. Doesn't that smell amazing? And then you can just, oh, we've got hello Eden from Grandma, and hi Grandma, love Eden. I love that. So anybody else that's cooking with their family or cooking with friends, give them a shout out and I will read that out. I think it's lovely. And when you share your photos, we can have a proper competition later and see who did the best job up. So it does look fun, doesn't it? So you're going to do this later. So here's my nice sauce, and you can decide, because you're the chef, if you want a bit more green. So if you want a bit more green, just pick off a few more leaves and just either tear them in or use your knife or your scissors or whatever you want to do. I'm using my mezzaluna because I like it. And then all of the green bits just go all in our sauce. And that is one of the quickest pasta sauces. It's delicious. And obviously it's got raw garlic in, but if you were cooking it with pasta, you just cook it through. And Az is going to cook on the pizza in the oven, okay? So let's see if we're all good. We'll have lots of hearts and thumbs up if you're with me. And we're nearly ready to go. Okay, so we've got a couple of little sad faces, so we'll wait for a minute and I'll slow down. I'll just tidy up here so you can see. Perfect. I'm actually going to leave that there. How are we doing? Okay, good. Can I go over the sauce again? Yeah, absolutely. And lovely if you're having fun, Molly and Freya, that is good. So in the sauce, I just had a tin of passata. I had a little carton. I don't want to fish it out of my bin, so it's not very nice to show you, but it's a little carton. You might get them in the glass jars. If you don't have passata, then just use a tin of tomatoes, but either puree it, just whiz it up a bit, so it's not too watery, or you could mix a bit of sun-dried tomato paste, or regular tomato paste, a bit of ketchup. You just basically want something to smear on the base of the pizza, okay? And then with that, I've added some fresh garlic, which I chopped using my grater. You might have a garlic press or something like that, or you could chop up really finely. And I just added some fresh herbs in, so some basil. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Some of you will have dried herbs. So like I'm going to use this in my sauce, but if you've got something like this, you want something Mediterranean, so sort of, you know, basil, oregano, parsley, or just leave it out, it's absolutely fine. But if you can buy basil, I can only buy this morning, just a little bag, but if you can get a plant, grow it, it's really lovely and you will really enjoy using that. We can make lots of nice pesto together. Hi Daryl, looking great, good. I don't know if that's me looking great or the pizza, I'm thinking it's the pizza. And shout out to all the people from Thanet. That's great, Rose. So you're all cooking together as well. Charlotte, where did I get it? Or that was somebody else. Where did we get what? I can't see what that was. You've got a pizza. Wow, a pizza oven. Wow, I think shout out to the pizza oven. We're coming around to you to put the pizza in the pizza oven. That's going to be good. So anyway, for those of us who don't have a pizza oven, it's fine. We'll do it in the oven. So you've got your sauce. Now, before we start spreading our sauce, what I want you to do is to look at your cheese. Now, if you're like me and you've got mozzarella, it comes in a bag, give it a squish. You can feel it's a nice big ball in there. And it's in water, it's having a bath. So what I want you to do, if you haven't done it already, is I want you to take it to the sink, snip the top, drain it all off, and then we're going to dry it. So I'm just going to turn my back to you and show you that. So I'm going to snip it like that, pour all the water out. And that is my cheese. Can you see it's quite wet? And I want to dry it because otherwise it's going to get a soggy old bottom on my pizza. So I'm just using a bit of kitchen roll. If you've got a towel that you're not using, just give it a little dry in that. And I just normally leave it to one side to dry out while I start doing the rest of my pizza. So I'm just going to put that on my chopping board and make sure it's as dry as possible because that's otherwise going to give us that wet stuff. You can see already, I've just showed you that. And look how much drier that is. Can you see? So that's already looking a lot better. And then either you can cut it, so we can practice like we did the other day. So we're going to keep our fingers way back from the knife. So we might cut a couple of slices. Or if you want to, especially with mozzarella, you can just tear. So nice, it looks really stringy, doesn't it? We can tear some little chunks off the cheese, however you want to do it. It's totally up to you, okay? And if you haven't got mozzarella and you've got maybe Parmesan or cheddar or something else, I'd suggest grate it, and then you can sprinkle it over the top, okay? So whatever we've got. So there's tomato sauce all over my kitchen. Oh dear, who is going to clean up in the Clark household? Let's see. I'm hoping if it's all over your kitchen, you're not wearing a white t-shirt like me, because it'll be really messy, won't it? Hi, Lexi. We're going to try it. Perfect. You and Rosie are doing that. Can I say the garlic part again, Isabel? Yes. So with the garlic, I've just put one clove in. I had a special garlic, like a mincer, and I've just used that, so it's really fine. So you can do that, or you could chop it really finely with a knife, or you can use the done stuff that you can buy in a jar or a little sachet at the supermarket. It's just for flavouring, so if you don't have it, it's not terrible. Or you could add in some garlic granules if you want, but fresh garlic's really good, I promise. Okay. So hopefully now we've got a pizza base done, we've got some cheese, and we've got some tomato sauce. Good. Lots of thumbs, lots of smileys, so that's good. So I'm going to bring back my pizza, and what I'm going to show you now, so watch this before you do it. It's a bit like when we paint. You know, when we paint a picture, we always leave a picture frame on the outside. So this will probably not work when I tip it up to you, but this is what I'm going to show you. You're going to take a couple of spoons and put it in the middle, and then I want you to spread it out, leaving that picture frame border, because otherwise we're going to get a soggy bottom. So if I show you a bit like this, that's the kind of thing that I want. Can you see? Okay, so don't go too crazy on the tomato sauce, not because I'm being mean, but I don't want a soggy bottom. So you can put a bit more on afterwards, and you can get fairly close to the edge. So this is really good practice for your breading and pouring and so many things we're doing today in class. So my pizza would look a bit kind of like that, okay? So that's why I'm saying to you, if you've got a tin of tomatoes, you don't want the really wet stuff. Right, if you can't get bread and strong flour, Rachel, absolutely you can catch up another time. But the amazing Gaia in this group says she normally makes pizza with plain flour. So if you've got plain flour at home, just do exactly the same and just use the plain flour. We'll see how it goes. No, we're not letting it rise today, so it should be okay. You want basically bread flour, which has got more gluten and more protein in it, makes it really kind of stretchy. That's what you want. So you can give it a go and try, or wait and do it next time. And absolutely, so you can watch this today. Today's video is going to go up after the class, and it's going to be on replay here on Facebook, and it's going to be on replay on YouTube, so you can watch it in both places. Ties back, perfect. And you're using, wow, fresh oregano from the garden. I'm impressed. Goodness me, I'm feeling a bit like shortchanged here. I've got no oregano in my garden and certainly no pizza oven. Right, yes, you can use the oregano. Ty is recommending the oregano. And bay leaves. I'm not sure I put bay leaves in here, so don't worry if you haven't got any herbs. Like I said, you can use some fresh, or you can use this kind of like Mediterranean mixed up or dry. Don't worry, it's fine. You know, next time you can do it. Next time you go to the supermarket, maybe buy a little plant, plant it out in the garden, and then you've got it for the rest of the summer, okay? So that's what I would do. So when you've got your nice tomato sauce on, if you are using toppings, so whatever that is, sweet corn, mushrooms, peppers, ham, I don't know, pineapple, I'm not sure about because it's quite wet. So I wouldn't use anything very wet. You want to sprinkle a bit on now. If you're using something like sweet corn, again, like the cheese, make sure you've dried it really well, because otherwise you will end up with a bit of a soggy old bottom, okay? And then when you've done that, all you're going to do is just scatter it, keeping within the colouring lines as well with your cheese. So I like nice little pockets of cheese on mine. So I'll show you. I'm going to put the 2 slices so you can see what the difference looks like. So I've got 2 slices there, and then I'm going to pop a little bit of cheese. Now remember, I'm only making 1 pizza, so this is 1 bit of mozzarella. So it really depends on what you want to do, okay? So that's my pizza, and I'm going to pop that in the oven. Doesn't need to go in very long, usually about kind of 12 to 15 minutes. Unusually for baking things in the oven, don't put it in the middle, put it quite high up so it gets really hot. And we will have a look in a minute and see what that looks like. So I'm going to put that in, and then hi, Ellen and Adrian, they're 200 miles away. Love that. Okay. So mine's going in, do not worry, we're not in a panic. And you can see I've got loads of tomato sauce left, so that's fine. You can use that for pasta. If you're making loads of pizzas, keep it in the fridge. It will last for a good while. And you might be making 4 pizzas today anyway. I've only made 1, so that's why I've got quite a lot left, okay? And I've also got a bit of cheese left. So this is really yummy to try. So you can always try a bit. And what I think is really fun with mozzarella, with little ones, is you can get them to kind of pull little, it's like your own cheese strings. And you see, they look really stringy, don't they? So you can pull them out and try them. Very yummy. And squishy cheese, so give it a little squish and a little feel, and it makes that oozy, stringy, lovely, melty thing in the oven, all right? So, I'm going to finish that bit. Looks very nice. Right, what have we got here? So, oh, you've got rosemary for your garden. Wow, you guys, everybody's going to be doing amazing gardening, aren't they? And parsley. For the dough balls, perfect, smells good, like. Where am I? I am in London. I'm in North London, so right at the edge of the Northern Line, kind of towards the M25. Not so far from Kent. Perfect. So we've got a pizza in, and then we're going to finish off our dough balls, all right? So if you made dough balls like me, you just put them to one side, and the reason I do that is I want them to rise a bit. So I might actually just bake mine now so that you can see them as well. So normally you'll see from the recipe I put them in slightly less time. I actually probably would leave these to rise a bit more. So normally I leave this, and you can put the dough in the fridge, and then you can come back and make your pizzas later. So they're going to rise up like those nice Pizza Express ones, okay? So I'm going to put that in the oven as well for maybe a little bit less than the pizza until it gets brown. So that can go on the shelf below. And while we're doing that, we're going to make the lovely garlic butter. Hi, Sarah and Shiv from London. It's your first time. That's fantastic. Right, so yours, Jasmine, you are getting sticky even when you add flour. Your dough, it depends. I don't know what flour you use, so maybe let me know what flour you use and if you used a starter. Wetter is better, so actually you don't want it too dry, but it should be, if you add a bit more flour, and it should help. Make sure you've really kneaded it well, because sometimes it just feels a bit funny, but you haven't kind of kneaded it, and it does start getting, not drier, but it's not as sticky. You work it, it gets really pliable, and the gluten gets going, okay? So, for our garlic butter, I've got some nice butter here that I've left out so it's not too cold. And I've just put it in a little bowl so I can mush it with the back of the spoon till it gets soft. So I'm going to do this down on the table. So you just want to mash it up. If you're using margarine or something, easy peasy, because it will already be good for you. Yours are done and in the oven. That's amazing. So hang on and watch this, because you can do this next time if you're not doing dough balls. So you just soften up your butter like that, okay? And then it's up to you. You can do fresh garlic if you want to, but this butter is going to be raw. So I'm going to suggest 2 ways of doing it. I'm going to use this like a dip, so like the Pizza Express balls. Do you know what I mean? You have the balls, and then we're going to dunk them in the butter, and because the bread's hot, the butter's going to melt. I'm going to have it like a dip. If you've got garlic that's raw, what you can do is the other way, like they do their garlic bread, is right at the end, maybe the last minute or so before your dough balls come out of the oven, you can just scrape all of this butter into the baking tray with the dough balls, give it a shake, obviously holding the oven gloves, and that butter will melt in the oven and it will just ooze all over your bread, which is also delicious. How much butter? I've just used a kind of very unscientific wodge of butter. So I would say, how much is that? I don't know, 50, 60 grams or something like that, probably. Not very much, but it's up to you. And also the butter will never go off. So you can keep it in your fridge. Corn, is that corn flour or corn? Oh, corn was the polenta. You might, if you're answering the question about polenta is corn. You're just putting the pizza in. I can rewind. Do not panic. Everybody's on the same page. So we split our dough, and so I can show you. You may not be making both with me. That's fine. So I'm showing you how you can make pizzas and how you can make dough balls. So we left the dough balls out to one side to rise from it, and now we're just making some garlic butter for the dough balls. Okay. So do you put the sweet corn on with the mozzarella? Yes. So I normally, Henry, what I would do is after you've done your tomato sauce and you've done your left your nice picture frame around the outside, put your sweet corn on. Then put your mozzarella on and then pop it in the oven. The reason I do that is the mozzarella is kind of like a blanket, so it will kind of cover it and stop it getting not burned to anything in the oven, all right? So, and make sure you drain your sweet corn well, Henry, okay? Because you don't want it to be too soggy and too wet on your pizza. Perfect. So in here with your butter, what I was saying was if you make too much, you can always keep it and have it again for dough balls, but you can also use it like if you're having a steak, or you could put it on fish, or you could do it on anything. And it will last. It's just like butter, so it just goes straight in the fridge, okay? How many degrees in the oven? A really hot oven, Zainab, for the pizzas. So I've said about 240 if your oven goes out that hot, or 220 fan, or 200 fan, whatever the top oven is. And I normally put it on fan. If you've got a pizza oven, you are good to go. So, and sometimes actually, I should say, you might have a pizza setting in your oven. I've got one in mine, and usually that is the hottest temperature. So I'm going to use some of my herbs. You can put fresh herbs in, it's absolutely fine. So we get out a little teaspoon, and I'm going to go with the garlic and herb vibe. And I tell you why. So we love garlic in my house. So good for you. Oh, smell that. So have a little smell. That's amazing. Pizzas can go in for about 12 to 15 minutes, depending on what you put on top of them, until they look nice and crispy around the edge and they're brown. I'm going to take mine out and show you so you can check. Because we don't want a soggy bottom, but sometimes it might be a little bit soggier depending on how thin you've rolled it and how much liquid there was from your mozzarella or from your toppings, okay? So I'm going to put in about half a teaspoon of garlic. You can put in a bit more. And my little tip is I'm going to put some mixed herbs in. Now, I love them, but what is also really helpful is you'll notice they are, you'll be able to tell me what colour they are when I put them in here. They're a bit green, aren't they? So when I mix my butter, I will know whether I've mixed it really well because I'll see all of the green flecks. We've got gas mark. That's going to be really hot. I don't know off the top of my head. That's going to be probably one of the hottest gas marks you can go. So normally it's 5 or 6. I'm guessing 7 or 8. But have a look. You can just do a conversion chart. So I've given you the normal recipe, the normal temperature, and you can just swap that around. So I'm using my finger just to scrape it off. And you can see I've got a nice green flecked butter. Now, some of you that like raw garlic, and my son loves raw garlic, you can have a little taste at this time and tell me, or tell yourself if that tastes good or you need a bit more garlic or a bit more spices or whatever you want in there. You can flavour it with whatever you want, really. I've also bought this stuff that is a garlic and herb seasoning, so it's a mix of both. To me, that's a bit more herby than it is garlic. Oh, it's gone up my nose, that one. What's that one got in it? Everyone is different, by the way. When you buy a mixed pot like this, always look at the ingredients on the back. So this one's got garlic, and it's got red bell pepper and onion and oregano and all the same kind of things we were talking about. Basil and marjoram. Perfect. So that's good for me. And you're just going to make, you can put chili powder in it. Absolutely, I was going to say that. You're welcome, Ruby and George. So this is basically your butter, and I would just leave it in here so that when the stuff comes out the oven, we'll be able to dunk it in and it will melt nicely. So I'm just going to answer some questions and have a little, because I've got a few more minutes on my pizza. If anybody's got any questions. So if your pizzas are in the oven and you're ready to go, that's fine. So send me a picture later. Let me know how you get on. If you've got any questions, let me know. The videos will go up in replay, so you can watch it again. You've got the recipe. What else? On Saturday, which is our next class, we're going to make frittatas, which are like mini egg muffins. They are perfect for like a late breakfast or brunch, or good for lunch, and then you can have them hot or cold. So you're going to need quite a few eggs depending on how many you want. Quantities are obviously in your recipe, so I have put down that you need about 6. You're going to need some milk. You're going to need some little vegetables. I put cubed vegetables. So if you've got regular carrots, I'm going to show you we can chop them up, and we can, I usually boil them slightly. And so what you might want to do if you're cooking with little ones is get mummy or daddy to boil the carrots a little bit, not too much, just so they're easier to chop. And it's also nice to have peas or sweet corn or mushrooms or whatever else you want. And I normally have some potatoes as well and a little bit of onions, okay? So you can use frozen, so you can absolutely use those little mixed packets of frozen, just make sure you defrost them. And I'm going to use some cheese. Now, for those of you that are dairy-free, you can use dairy-free cheese. You don't need to use the cheese. For those of you that are vegan, what I suggest you do if you want to do this recipe is it works really well with tofu. So if you blend up tofu, you can do that and you can use it. It will bake in the oven like a kind of frittata as well. You probably need a bit of seasoning in there. So I'd suggest if you probably have the yeast Engevita, you can put some of that in as a flavouring or some mustard or something like that. So you can try that, and you can put the vegan cheese in too. So do you poke holes in the base before the sauce? No, definitely not, because otherwise what will happen is the sauce will go out through the holes underneath and it will make it a bit soggy, okay? So that's why you might have seen me put a little bit of flour and I put a bit of polenta on my tray to stop us getting a soggy bottom. Can I say 4? I'm not quite sure I've understood that, Christina. So if you want to type that in again, ask me and I will answer that. So frittatas this week. And like I said, everything else is up on the replay. Share me your photos. I'd love to see how you get on. I will share mine too. Hopefully I might take mine out in a second just so I can show you what it looks like, although we're quite to be done. And then I'll show you what we do with the dough balls. So I'm just actually going to take those out so I can show you. This will not be 100% done, but it will show you what you want to look like. So, right, perfect. So this is actually, you can see my oven's super hot. So this is 10 minutes at 250. Bam. So that's super hot. So that's like your pizza oven, whoever had the pizza oven. So you can see this is what you want. Cheese looks lovely and golden. I'm going to put that down because that is very hot. I'm actually going to get, what I'm going to do is tip this out so you can see what it looks like right in front of me. So, doesn't that look good? So this is what you want. You want the edges to be nice and golden. You want the cheese to be melted. And when you pick it up very lightly and get mummy or daddy to do this, can you see we shouldn't have, oh, soggy bottom. Now my cheese is melting, going off because it's a bit too hot. If you made holes in, what you'd find is it all goes underneath. If on your tray, I'll show you my tray. My tray is nice and dry. Can you see there? So that's just all the flour and the polenta I put on. If you've got water on your tray, that is probably the water either from your mozzarella because you haven't drained it, or maybe from something like sweet corn that you used. So a bit of it might be a bit soggy, so pop it back in, that will be fine. And then these are my dough balls, so they look great too. They will probably need another minute or so. But what you do is you take one out, and when you're ready to eat them, you would just dunk them in your little bit of butter, and you can see how nice and melted and gooey that is there. So that is the pizza and the dough balls with the butter there. So that looks rather yummy, doesn't it? So that's your kind of takeaway, fake away night. If I should put that there, that might be a bit better. So you can see. So how long do you keep the unused dough for? Not very long. I would normally make it and use it the same day. But if you want to make it like in the morning and leave it in the fridge, you can do that. If you leave it out, and that's what's really interesting. Some of you asked what else we can do with the dough. It will rise. We call it knocking back. So just kind of punch it down again and roll it out. If you like a more puffy, like a Pizza Hut pizza, then instead of doing what we did, just roll it out flat, let it rise, and then put your toppings on later. So hi, Hayden. Hi, Megan and Elsie. Thank you for joining again. Who else have I got here? Is that Maggie? Hi, Maggie. So you are very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thank you so much for doing it today. There's a lot of steps today, but a really great recipe. So lots of great kneading. And if you guys were showing me your clean hands at home, you have absolutely nailed this. So you've done top work today. So I'm going to put this up on replay for those of you that will watch it again. Hopefully by the time you've got to the end of this video, if you're watching it on replay, you managed to get hold of yeast and flour, which is great. Any questions, pop them in the comments. Share your photos with me, and I will see you guys on Saturday for frittatas. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.